And welcome back to E-Schoolhouse. We're in the middle of our master class talking about how parents can help their children's desire to learn go from good to spectacular. And today is Sunday, and it happens to be Father's Day. And since we're talking about how parents influence their kids, I thought, wouldn't it be awesome to reflect on how my dad influenced my education? Well, unfortunately, I no longer have my dad. He is up in heaven. But I do have my wonderful brother. He and I obviously grew up in the same household, the shared experience with the same parents. But our experience about our education is very different. And recently, my brother Mike and I have had some fun conversations about our shared experience and just our different perceptions. So I thought, wouldn't it be fun to talk about how our dad influenced our education here on E-Schoolhouse? So welcome, Mike.
Thank you. Happy Father's Day to everyone out there.
Oh, how nice. And I should also say, Mike and his wife have raised 4 amazing kids. So he's got the parenting thing down too. All right. So we are children of the 60s, okay?
Yep.
So both of us were born in the early 60s. And so, keep in mind that some of the things that we may say may sound like ridiculous, but keep in mind the time zone, okay? So our parents were born in the 30s and 40s, had us in the 60s. And that's, that's how we were raised. So Mike, what is your recollection of how Dad influenced you in your schooling?
Early on, I remember just the pressure, and I always thought it was pressure from Dad to learn. I think he probably had a revelation at some point that, well, Mike isn't probably going to learn the way that I would expect him to. So he developed the course in me to be able to make good decisions and to be able to learn and study and focus on things that I liked, but to also be aware that, although grades were important in the family and in the household, and I got the occasional scolding of, well, why did you get this particular letter that fell below a C? And it wasn't that I was not trying. It's just that my abilities to learn at the rate that both you and our older sister did, it wasn't there. And I think they recognized that early on, and it was never the pressure to say, you need to do this. They always wanted to check my work. They always wanted to make sure I did my homework. But they never really were on top of me and demanding that I get a certain grade. I think, to be quite honest with you, when I graduated from high school, that was the first few that they had. And then when I elected to go to college, that was the, what? Okay, cool. And then, I was on the 5-year program. And 2 different colleges, and I did finally graduate, and not only did I think that was a milestone for myself, but I think it was a testament to both Mom and Dad, that allowed me to do the things and learn the way I did. I didn't take the normal course that a child coming out of the Tremblay household would take. The very first job I had was in a restaurant, and I ended up working professionally in restaurants for 30 years. And so I took something that I loved and something that I learned to love because my parents allowed me to do those kind of things. So that was important to me to learn those things from Mom and Dad. And hopefully I've been able to do that for my kids.
That's awesome. I'm so glad you brought up a couple of things that I just want to reiterate. Number one, that our parents recognized how different we all were. And pressure for grades, I never felt pressure because I pushed myself. I had my own pressure for grades. But, Mom and Dad at the time when they first got married, they weren't college educated.
Nope.
And our dad was sent to college because when he joined the Air Force, they recognized just how smart he was. So they sent him to college, and ultimately he did become an engineer. But our parents made sure that all 3 of us went to college. So I think that's a testament to how important education was to our parents.
Yeah, and I think the one thing that I got from Mom was reading.
Yes.
There was never a day that she was not reading something. and I think they all picked up on the fact that I was not a reader.
Mm-hmm.
So I think by virtue of that, they elected to put the library of all of our books, the Encyclopedia Britannicas, the Reader's Digest, in my bedroom, hoping that through osmosis I would learn something. But ironically enough, the one books that I really enjoyed reading were the encyclopedias, the Reader's Digest, especially that thick year in review. I would read those suckers cover to cover.
I remember whenever we would try to play Trivial Pursuit with you, nobody could touch you.
There are very few people in the last 30 years that I've played that game with. One of my brother-in-law, who is, I think he has a photographic memory to begin with anyway.
Yeah.
And my mom, she remembers minutia like I do.
Yeah.
and now when it comes to the sciences, I struggle a little bit.
Yeah.
But I can generally come up with a good fake answer.
That's so funny.
That a lot of people would believe because maybe it's my presentation. So no, Trivial Pursuit, even today, no one will play Trivial Pursuit with me in our household.
That is so true. That is so true. So, I want to ask you, because we had our own experience growing up with our parents, but you've raised 4 kids. Mm-hmm. What are some of the things that you and Renee, his wife is Renee, what have you guys done to help them through their education?
Renee is highly intelligent. She is the science and the math part of our relationship with the kids. She has a master's degree in nursing, so clearly that speaks volumes to her level of education. Mm-hmm. I have a master's degree in minutia, so that's helpful. The one thing that we were able to complement each other with the kids. Mm. The kids would obviously go to, or even today in college, the kids will if need be, they'll call mom when they have certain maths and sciences. Now, when it comes to the history and the reading, although my grades from college and high school would not reflect this, I am a bit of a grammarian. I understand how words work, not only in the verbal sense, but in the written sense. And the one thing that I've always been able to do is to review my kids' work. And that's the one thing that Dutz, or Dad, used to do with us, is he taught me how to review my work, read it backwards. Each sentence holds its own meaning in a paragraph, but it won't make sense if you only read it the same way every time. So he would say, read each sentence backwards, if that makes sense. And so that way you knew you didn't have any fragments. You knew you had complete sentences within a paragraph. Huh. And then from there, again, Renee, highly intelligent. If you ever watch this, Renee, you are. But when it comes to the written word, certainly she can put her thoughts together, but it's an opportunity that she does not possess that I did. And so all the way through her college, I helped her and worked with her on all her papers. And at the same time, I was learning stuff. So not only in her bachelor's program, but in her master's program. And then I do that with the kids. Now we have one of our second child. I always put him in the same category as you and Dad, where you see something, you read something, and it's yours for life. Yeah. And that's the way he is. Yeah. He doesn't need notes. He doesn't need prompts. He just, right off the top of his head, whether it's speaking, writing, mathematics, history, science, he's got it. Some of the challenges that we had with the kids growing up, we learned about the first or second grade that our first child had dyslexia, and a very, very severe case of dyslexia. I myself learned when I was in college that I had a mild case of it. Now, I didn't realize you can have a mild case of dyslexia. Yeah. But I did. And I think that was the aversion to me focusing the way I could have and should have when I was told to read something. Yeah. So we learned that on with Andrew, and we sought out the necessary aids that we could get. And fortunately, in the school district that we were at in Ohio, the lady who was the advocate for the State Dyslexic Foundation just happened to be Andrew's tutor. So,
Nice.
so having her, Miss Jen, if you ever happen to come across this, thank you, you're the best. We learned early on with Andrew that and the one thing I could say about him was, as much as he struggled, he always did his work.
Yes, he is a hard worker.
He would sit at the kitchen table till 10 or 11 o'clock every night. And at the end of the day, he always had a smile on his face. He's the kindest hearted young man that I know, and he's thriving, and he's doing well in Ohio, working professionally. And all four of them have presented different opportunities, whether they were things that I could help them with or I could not help them with. With Zach, he was on his own. So the only way that we could challenge him was to make sure that, let's stay on top of your game. Let's keep moving forward, and don't wait for someone to tell you to do it. Go out and do it yourself. Ethan, on the other hand, our third child, we found out, and it was just through the normal audiology test that they have in the school. The teacher said, "We think your son might need to be tested." Little did we know that he was completely deaf in one ear.
Yeah.
So, with multiple surgeries and multiple appliances, it wasn't until he was in a senior in high school that he elected, "I'm not going to wear a hearing aid anymore." We then had his hearing tested, and the audiologist was blown away because his brain was able to compensate.
Awesome.
Hearing out of one ear. Now, over the years, it's been kind of fun buying him the different headsets for his gaming. That it's fully stereo in one ear. So learning how our kids were all different in their different ways on what they wanted to learn and how they were learning. I think we're all born from the fundamentals that mom and dad provided us, and the understanding that you're different. Yeah, there were some tenuous times, just like they were back in the 60s and 70s with mom and dad. And we certainly had a few shouting matches with the kids as well. But for the most part, the one thing that mom and dad taught me that I want to teach, and I still am teaching my kids to this day, is I don't want to teach you what you need to learn. I want to teach you how to learn and how to interpret what you learn to be a good citizen of the world.
That's our whole point. That's the whole point. And, I'm so glad that you said that, because in high school, I was taking upper level math and science classes because that's just, a total nerd from day one. And our dad traveled a lot. And so I'm taking high school calculus classes and these upper level chemistries and stuff. And when I would need help, my mom wasn't educated in that, but she provided an environment so that I could get those things done. She didn't have to know the content. She knew me, and she knew that I just needed, sometimes she would come up, I'd be at the table and I'd be shaking and I'd be crying because I couldn't understand it. She would just hug me and say, "You need to take a break and then come back to it." Did she understand how to help me with the content? No, but she understood me. And so thank you for that, Mom. Our parents did such a good job helping us that I think so many of personally, my personal philosophies on education now come from that. I truly believe that parents are the first and most important teachers of their children. You don't have to know the content, but if you can help your child understand that it is their effort that leads to their success, not their talent, that's huge. If you can if you can teach your children that failure is simply an opportunity to learn something, that's huge. And that's what you've been doing. That's what you've done with your four kids. So I think we got that from mom and dad. So, I miss dad.
10 years.
But I hope, Mom, if you hear this or when you hear this, I hope this brings you some joy, because we certainly appreciate everything you did to help us in our learning.
Oh, for sure. And I think I'd be remiss if I didn't say, on Father's Day, happy Father's Day to all the mothers and grandparents and other caregivers in all the children's lives out there that step in when dads aren't there, whether they're traveling or they've passed away, or whatever the circumstances are. You know, every year I've always called mom on Father's Day, and I call her, you know, a lot anyway.
Yeah.
But I always tell her that she was the surrogate dad when dad wasn't there, and that certainly meant a lot. So
Yeah. Yeah.
for sure.
And that's another, and I so appreciate you saying that, because there are a lot of young women in our E-Schoolhouse group that are military spouses.
Mm-hmm.
So, you know, we were the children that you're raising. So, you know what?
Yep.
Good job.
Yep.
So, all right. Well, happy Father's Day to everyone out there. Thank you so much for joining us today. And I will see you tomorrow on the masterclass. Bye.
Good day.